So we're rolling.
Put the underwear on, man.
I'm recording. That is in the show. Hi!
Hi!
Welcome back to the Hipocritics podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Alex.
I'm your other co-host, Josiah.
And I'm actually going to be your host for today. My name's Joel. Thank you guys for letting me be on here.
Yes, we're excited to have Joel on today because we'll be talking about music today and how it affects us. And each of us are musicians and have a lot of background in playing music, playing different genres, and but before we do all that, but first, I'd like to welcome Joel to the podcast.
Thank you. Yes. Have a little clapping. You guys aren't clapping. How dare you?
We are excited to have him. He's been somebody that's been involved in both of our lives for a long time. He's actually Joe's roommate as well, and he has also been my roommate.
Yeah.
So
I've lived with both of you and know all of your dark secrets.
Exactly.
But it really is a pleasure being here. But,
Yeah.
To introduce myself a little bit, as Alex just said, we all play music, and for me, I mainly do percussion. I do percussion instruments and drum set. That's mainly what I do, and I've been doing that for over 10 years. So I have a little bit of knowledge.
Experience.
Just a little bit. But it's just been a blast. Recently, I haven't had as much practice in that, but just being involved with creative people like yourselves and being able to have that insight it's very welcoming. So I'm happy to be here. Other than that,
He's too modest. Can you talk a little bit about your acting experience?
my acting experience. Wow. Well, that's
This is where you sell yourself.
well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, my acting experience. That's something I've been wanting to get into a lot more lately. It's that and music. I love both, but right now I've been trying to get a little bit of roles. I had a role in a play not that long ago. I actually won an award in that.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
I won Best Supporting Actor in the season. Something like
I did
that.
not know that. That's
Yeah.
super interesting.
It's
Super nice.
Dude.
I still have to go pick it up because apparently they didn't mail it, so whatever. But anyways,
awesome.
yeah. Right now I'm just working on getting this one role for the UF right now. Working on getting that, and then after that, I'm thinking about going to UCF or Full Sail, seeing what student films I can audition for. So
That's awesome. I think it's interesting seeing where you're going with acting and being a filmmaker. We're constantly looking for people like you, and it's important to find people that are consistent because most students that are in acting are incredibly, that I have worked with, have been incredibly bad at scheduling and like being consistent. And I know that you've been in a lot of projects and you've been very consistent. It's been fun to kind of see you kind of walk into that career of acting and continue to grow in it and see that industry, because it's a very different industry than I'm in, but they're so related and it's like a symbiotic relationship. So so we're excited to have Joel.
Yeah, me.
Whoa! No, so I'm constantly mixing up Joel and Joe.
It's happened.
I mean, it's the two letters.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's pretty simple.
So
I should just call you something else.
Like my full name, Josiah.
Dirtbag.
What?
You're right.
No.
I'm gonna call you Dirtbag,
Alright.
and I'll just call you your name.
Yes. Let's do
That's a
it.
good deal. Okay.
So we're excited today because I've been wanting to talk about music for a long time, and it's always on my mind. Like, I want to say it's something I go through and I'm like, oh, I feel musical today because all three of us being musicians are constantly being influenced by different artists and kind of our breakdown of how we view music and also the world. Like, music has affected me on a personal level and a deep, like, I don't know what I would do without music. So I thought it'd be interesting to go around and just kind of talk about our influences, but also how we view music. And I know just like a little summary with me, maybe we can go around a little bit and summarize how we view music. So I'll start. For me, I've been playing violin for probably 17 years. I've played every style of violin. I've played classical, bluegrass, Celtic, rock, and now I play indie rock. I mean, it's basically everything in between. So when I listen to music, I especially listen to the melody, the harmony, the tonality of like the tone of the instruments. And it's interesting because I think Joe and I contrast a lot with this because he's so heavy on lyrics, and I'll let him get into that. But for me, it's like if I hear a good song, it's the actual instrumentation, acoustically and electronically, that I'm interested in.
See, me and you are kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
But for me, it's more or less like you're more in the instrumentation of all things. I'm more in just the full rhythm of it itself.
Yeah, it's completely different.
It's very different. Yes. Yeah. So playing drums all my life, that's what I'm used to. I'm used to having the beat, being the beat, getting everyone used to that beat. But as far as just listening and being inspired, it's mainly the rhythm for me. Any song that I've listened to and I've either fallen in love with or I've downright hated is because either the rhythm is really well done and it meshes so many different things to be cohesive, or it's all over the place and you can't focus on anything because it's just everywhere. Yeah. But for the most part, that's just how I view music. It's how I play. Whenever I listen to something, I listen to that and not necessarily play the same thing, but just be able to understand what this artist wants, what way they're going with the rhythm.
Yeah. I think for a lot of like the music pieces that you like tend to be very cohesive pieces. Everything fits very, very well. And it's usually the pieces you like a lot are pieces that are unique to them. Yeah. And that have their own kind of style, and that's not like the same type of rhythm that is played over and over again on pop songs and stuff.
That's so true. That's so true.
And I think that's interesting because like the repetitive aspect of drums, but when you get into actually playing it, there's so much depth to it.
Oh yeah, like a lot of people just think it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, just going through the whole song, but you fail to realize that it's not just drums that are the playing rhythm. I mean, it incorporates everything, and it's the teamwork between the drums, the guitars, it's just pretty good in that way, and it's just when all those things work together, that's when it makes something unique, in my opinion.
I agree.
Cool.
For me, it's very much more. It needs to have some level of cohesion. It can't be a complete mess. But I definitely value the level of detail that's put in lyrics and what the artist is trying to convey when they write these pieces. And like a little bit of history for me musically is I got into music in the beginning of high school because one of my friends who I looked up to really, really highly was super good at instruments, and so I wanted to learn guitar. And I remember the exact song, or at least the exact artist that got me into music, which was Jason Mraz. And all his songs are very like happy, which is hilarious now because all the music I like is depressing.
Depression.
Yeah, depressing or like slow and like meaningful and deep. But the first songs I listened to were like Jason Mraz, or at least that I was musically inspired by. And a lot of his songs are happy and like go to, but they're also very meaningful. They're always conveying some type of message about like, hey, you shouldn't look at the world so negatively, or like enjoy your life while you can, different things like that. And from there, it's just kind of, as I've learned to appreciate more and more music, it's definitely grown to, if it's trash lyrics, I straight up cannot listen to it. It will drive me insane.
It's so funny because I don't give a freaking freak
Right,
about it.
yeah.
You can sing about anything as long as it's not like bad. And I'd be like, this is a good song.
Glorify
You know,
that.
Right.
I think there are some people, but and they don't do anything that we do, but like they're like, oh, I listen for the beat, which is a generic thing for saying I have no idea what musical tastes I have.
Exactly.
So I don't think either of us do that.
It's funny because like Jess, my fiance, actually, she views music a little bit similar to you, but it's not necessarily the lyrics, like the written lyrics. It's just who's singing it. Really.
Right.
If she thinks they have an awful voice, she will not like any song by that person. It's pretty.
That's cool.
It's pretty funny, but like she makes fun of me of my music choices because of that. I'll be like, oh, the rhythm's great. She's like, they sing horribly. But I appreciate that insight too. It gives me more insight into other songs as well.
And I'm kind of that way too. I tend to value, at least to some level, like the vocalist's ability, if they have a good voice or not. But
that's hilarious to me because like it's funny because I picked almost all my music that I picked was instrumental.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think the biggest point with me, which I'll get into, is how to communicate without words. So
That's good.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I was literally trying to not like.
It's like a different.
I feel like the dude at Guitar Center that's like, "Hey kid, you don't need vocal lessons. You just need this guitar amp, you know, one man bandit."
Yeah.
But no, like I'm kind of like joshingly like, you don't need any of that to make good music. But I always like relate to and understand how lyrics affect everything. And there's one song too I'll get into that only has one word. It's two words. The whole song has 2 words. Okay. So anyway, I think the natural progression of doing this is to start with lyrics.
So on that kind of note, we're gonna switch over to, we each came up with 3 different songs by different artists that really inspire us and kind of pinpoint exactly what we find inspiring or that is very personal or that we love about music that is kind of depicted in these different songs. For me, it was really hard in general, I think for all of us. Yes. But especially I found a really hard time. For one, because of the way I view music, I find it becomes super personal to me. And there were several songs I wanted to pick, but I chose not to because I was like, I don't have to explain all the personal aspects.
We're going to be here for a couple hours.
Yeah, exactly. If I did that. So instead I went with songs that they kind of like Alex was saying, and I think what he was saying is there's 2 sides of telling the story.
Yeah.
You can tell a story through just music, which is just as effective as telling a story through words, and there are some songs that combine the 2.
And I think that's the best.
I agree. I agree. And there's one of these cases, and it's my first pick, where they combine so perfectly well is What Sarah Said by Death Cab for Cutie.
Okay.
And it's this gorgeous song. Every time I listen to it, I can't help but, 1, cry halfway through. Towards the end, like I always tear up when he hits the last word. And he describes what Sarah said. It's not the last word, really? But yeah. And the thing I love the most about this song is you have to listen to it, but he captures a scene like no other artist I've ever heard before, and it's all about what it's like to be in ICU, like a waiting room. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a waiting room for an emergency operation, and what it feels like to be in that waiting room. And I've never heard a song that makes me perfectly imagine what that waiting room is like this song. Every single word captures like a scene that happens in that waiting room.
Kind of like not the thrill, but the tension.
Yeah. The atmosphere. Is completely there. It makes me feel like I know exactly what it's like to sit in that waiting room. Wow. And the way he does it is just, Ben Gibbard is a genius, but he just captures it so well. I don't think I've ever heard another artist capture it like he does. I don't want to dwell on it too long because we're already I'm going to try to rush through these. The second song I picked was Home by Louis Watson, which he's one of the examples. He's a singer-songwriter, which I feel like tends to be my niche. I tend to fall in love with these singer-songwriters, and it feels very personal to me because they're usually mostly about words. They tend to be more songwriters than they are singers, or musicians, I guess. They're usually more simple. I don't want to say they're not musicians because they are, but
acoustically.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're usually a lot more acoustic and simplistic. It can still be somewhat complicated, but one instrument usually, one or two. And so I tend to fall in love with those kinds of artists because they feel very open, authentic, and personal to me. And Louis Watson is exactly that for me. Up until his most recent album, he was almost entirely acoustic, and I found him back when he came out with his very first EP, and have listened to him since, and he's one of the only artists that I will continually listen to throughout my entire life and never stop. I will always come back to songs by him.
Why?
I think, one, because of the memories I've attached to his songs and his lyrics. 2, his voice. He's British. 3, and he has this incredible, gorgeous voice. And 3, the way he writes songs is almost mesmerizing. It takes me for a ride. Like, I feel what he's feeling.
You feel kind of like it's a storybook kind of thing.
Yes.
Where you're following along in both the lyrics and just like the pages of what they're trying to share.
And a lot of his songs tend to relate. Like, I can relate to almost every single one of his songs in some way. And so, on that aspect, definitely, like, draws me in. The other thing is, when I was in England, I studied abroad in England for a semester.
Oh.
I know, with my pinky up. And it was this amazing time, and not to get too personal, but it was also like a very lonely moment in my life. And I was going through a lot of stuff, but when I was there, I would listen to this song on repeat, and it's called Home by Louis Watson. It's the song I'm picking. And it's all about, I'll pull up some of the lyrics. And we live on the East Coast, so...
Yeah.
And the start of the song is, "From the East, where I found you, my friend." And it's all about going home. And the chorus is, "Take me home." And for me, being in England, and he describes like the cold weather and things like that, it was so real in that moment that I just immediately attached myself to that song. And then there I went and saw him in concert, and his concert was just amazing because it's this very personal.
Oh, you saw him in England?
Yes.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And so for me, it's like a very personal type of artist, and I think I'm drawn to that kind of music, where they're not mainstream, they're not, flooded by all these crowds of fans, but they have a very niche group that appreciate them for the kind of person, the kind of music that they write. And for my last one, as I get through this, the last one is Passenger. And I could talk about this man so much. I've known him for a while. He's famous for his song Let Her Go, which became super crazy popular a couple of years ago. But he has so many more good songs. And I was reading his bio when I was looking at his music, and he apparently started as a busker, which is essentially European for like panhandler. He would go like in the streets of New York, he would play an instrument and people would like pay you. Or like so he was this essentially panhandler that would go around playing instruments and get donations from people. And as he would go, I can just imagine him talking to people and like hearing their stories. And as you listen to all of his songs, almost every single one is a story. And it's like he's traveling across these countries and these towns and these cities, and he's collecting stories and then writing about them.
I remember when you showed me that song that you picked. What was the name of your song?
Words by Passenger. Sorry.
You showed me that song, and I was just like, wow, I can see the story with it. It's a very subtle rhythm. I really do love that. And with how he tells the story, it is tragic. It's really sad, and as you told me before.
Yeah.
And it's just very interesting how you can see it in that way. And it kind of takes you for a ride itself. It's just like, it pulls a side of you that you can relate with on some sort of level. Right. I feel like this applies to everyone.
The thing I love about... So I picked Words specifically because it seemed to me... One thing you should know about me, I love tragedies. I adore tragedies. So this song like immediately spoke to me because it's all about the story about this girl and this guy, and he runs into this girl, like finds her, and kind of has feelings for her, and she's like totally in love with him, and he says, "I'm sorry, I can't. I've given my word to a woman far away, and I've given my word and my heart to a woman far away. Like the timing wasn't right." And then it comes back a year later, and they run into each other again, And this time, she has given her word to a man and her heart to a man far away, and he's the one that's in love with her. And so then it falls apart again, and then at the last verse is he sees her again, like in the street, and her hair's shorter, but everything else is the same. And instead of saying, like, taking the chance and being like, hey, are you with someone? Like, have you given your heart? Like, is this a good time? They choose not to say anything at all, and they pass by.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's
heavy.
Oh, it's so good. Every single word he writes. One of my favorite lines is he says, she says, "I never knew I could get my heart broken in less than a day," and then his line is, "I never knew I could get my heart broken in so many ways." And just like little subtle lines like that are just immediately pop out to me and like speak to me on so many levels. And he just describes that level of heartbreak, even though it's like so sudden, how powerful and painful it is.
Wow.
It's such a good song. I love that song.
I think of the three you picked, that's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's relatable on so many levels too. I think each person's gonna find that like golden nugget of lyrics and be able to pull something out of there that's completely related to your life that you've gone through. And that's, to me, that's good writing.
Yeah.
That's good, like good the way that they're using words, the wordplay.
Yeah, the wordplay is good.
Wordplay for the song words.
Right.
So, you good?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the line at the end is, sometimes words aren't the right words to say, and that's where he gets the song, the title words.
Wow.
Like it, yeah.
That's awesome. So, we're going to jump gears, and I'm going to tell you why you don't need any of that.
Yeah, words are garbage.
Throw that away.
So,
poetry's lame.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about not using words. Because, and again, like, I kind of wrote my thoughts from an opposite perspective as Joe, because I wanted to have that polarizing aspect with the show. So a little bit about me, just starting off. I have synesthesia, which is basically like I see music and musicality and notes as colors. Like a scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G has a certain. All the notes have a certain color, and I relate that to playing violin. And other people that have completely different colors. Like I talked to my sister, I was like, "This note to me is purple." She's like, "This is orange to me." And I'm like, "Why? This is definitely purple." And she's like, "No, it's orange." So it's funny. Before I start, I'm actually going to time myself so I don't go flying off the handles. No, you did a great job. Okay. So, and I actually did that because you were so concise. So I'm going to do that as well. So, synesthesia, it basically is your brain correlating. It's like it's miscorrelating, but actually correlating two different senses.
Your visual and your hearing.
So you can see, you can taste color. Some people taste colors. Some people feel sounds. Like it's all type. There's always different ones that I know. It's a little bit trippy. It's kind of weird, but it's funny. So when I listen to music, I always want to approach it from the perspective of the tonality of the instruments. I'm a nerd, so like I'm into effects pedals and programs and like using all types of gear to like distort or transform your sound.
In other words, spend all your money.
Yes, it's very expensive. It's so expensive. I'm into film, cameras, and also expensive audio stuff.
All the expensive things.
So the first song for me that kind of illustrates this perspective is by a band called Daughter. And again, I mean, I kind of relate to Joe because her stuff is really sad. But it's also like, to me, it's the honesty of her lyrics. The song, and for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down what I'm seeing when I hear it.
Oh, yeah.
So in Switzerland, there's this kind of heavy, like, it has this, like, it's this instrument. It's kind of like what's that thing called that you
Accordion.
It's kind of like that.
In Switzerland, the song, right?
Yeah, and she kind of fades that in and out constantly. And for me, I see like rows of like LED lights that are white. So every time you hear the, you gotta listen to the song. You gotta do it. And we'll have all the links up for all the songs, so you can go and listen to them. And you should definitely do that before you like listen to everything, because you'll be completely lost. Anyway, so basically you have these little LED like kind of like rows of lights in a line, and then so that's like pulsating as I hear that chord that's playing through the what's it called? Accordion. Kind of thing. And then to me, the song, through like communicating emotions without words, there's a beauty and a peace about it, but then like it ramps up and it has this more like rhythmic part to it, and you hear more of like a desperation in my head. I'm hearing this like desperate, dark, beautiful sound. And it's like a party. To me, I describe it as a party in the dark. So it's basically like this beautiful moment that's like dark and like you can barely see in a way. But like the lighting for me, that was the biggest thing. I see music with lighting. So it has this mysterious quality to it too, like a swarm of fireflies. That's what I'm picturing in my head. Like,
mystifying.
Yeah, like little blips here and there, and like all over the place. It's like, you know, when you go into like a forest and you see like a huge swarm of them, and you're like, it's like you're overwhelmed, kind of mesmerized by how beautiful they are, like bioluminescence. So that's what I'm seeing in my head, but it's like rows of that. And then, you know, the one word that the two words she actually said, the one verse that she says is just the night. So it just repeats the night over and over. And she sings it so many different ways. So to me, that's just powerful, because you don't need many words. Like, you can repeat a phrase enough and sing it the right way.
The right inflection.
The right inflection, and completely change the way that word feels. So that's why that song is like really memorable to me, and I go back, I listen to it all the time. Like, it's like very soothing and weird. It's very sad too.
It is.
The next one I have is Plasticities by Andrew Bird. If you can tell me what that song means, or also like what the lyrics are about, I have no clue. And I love that song.
Write that in the comments section.
Yeah. If you can find an interpretation for what that song means without Googling it on songmeanings.com, because you shouldn't do that. Like, if you can just tell me, I've listened to that song like hundreds of times. I have absolutely no clue what he's talking about.
When I was listening to it, I was trying to like pick up different words. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to tell what he's saying. But as I was like hearing it, I was like, "What? What?"
It is, for me. It's like it's so cool with what he does, because I've known you for so long. I understand where your inspiration for some of the stuff you do is, because he has his violin, he has his guitar, he has the looping pedal, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's Alex's inspiration.
No, it's literally like, this is probably the brainchild for everything I do, because he's so. It's all handcrafted looping. So he has a looping pedal, and just for people that don't know what that is, it's basically a device that allows you to overdub yourself. So you make a track, and then you can build this orchestral feel with one instrument, like a violin. So he has like multiples one of those. So he can turn those on and off. And so this song starts with this like picking pattern, and in my head it's green. It's just I can play it. I've made that loop before, that exact one. And for some reason, every time I hear it, every time I see green, like a green, like almost like green. Again, the green kind of like 3 dots, like do for each chord, because it's a triad chord, a 3-note chord. So green is like all over this song. To me, the chord progression has this hypnotic aspect, and then it like he kind of plays. He's singing all these weird lyrics.
I don't even know.
Talks about cuticles and a whale, and like I don't know,
honestly,
like
he might have been high.
And that's kind of his style. He's very like trippy, but it builds into this like destructive swarm of violin notes and loops, and like it's crazy, because it starts off as this beautiful thing, and then he like transforms it into this like tornado cacophony of sounds. So in all those loops, he's expressing like emotional states to me. Like there's parts where it's building, and then he comes in the violin about halfway in. It's so sad, and then he has this like really happy opening with the picking, and then it like the violin comes in, and he cuts like he does these like these notes that go down, so it's like the emotional states going down, but then it like builds this huge thing, and then he like crumples it up at the end. So it's like this, to me, it's got this chaotic aspect. So it starts as one thing and then it turns into this chaotic nature.
That's actually something I wanted to address too. We were actually on our way here. We were listening to the song and we're like, we understand why Alex relates to this and why he sees that. And then as it got to that chaos, both me and Joe were just sitting there thinking, like, I feel like he should have just ended it right here. That would have been such a good closure.
Oh, I feel too.
Yeah. Okay. But it goes through that rhythm. It changes it up. Like for me, I don't really see it as much just because it's so much noise in my opinion. But as you said you see colors with that, and I can understand that chaotic kind of like rainbow effect that goes with that.
And I feel like for him, that piece specifically, it works because it's written more as an art piece almost. It's more of a story through music, and by having that last bit, he's telling, like, he has that on purpose. He's telling something. He's not trying to make it. Yeah, he's not trying to make it just sound good. Like he has it for a reason.
So I've like watched every YouTube video by him ever. So he does this TED talk. He does a TED talk, and he talks about autoimmune diseases and how like basically feedback works. So if you loop enough, it starts to feedback on itself, and it's like attacking itself in a way.
Wow.
So like that's kind of the idea with some of the stuff where he's like there's like these infinite loops that like basically this song is corrupting itself. So I think that's an idea that he's put into his music.
So you feel like you're stuck in a loop.
And I think that exactly, and like it feels very organic in that nature.
Yeah.
And that happens, like there's all types of things that will do that over time. You know, so that's why that song means so much to me. The last one is very selfish choice, because like next week we're going to be reviewing this movie called Her. Spoilers. And I'm so excited for that. So I had to put an Easter egg or something in there from this episode for Her. So the song is called Photography. I think it's either Photography or Photograph on the Beach. And it's by Arcade Fire.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is one of the most beautiful piano pieces I've ever heard. So I've wanted to watch this movie forever. I haven't yet seen it yet. But I've listened to this pice on repeat for like hours.
It's so sad.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's sad but beautiful.
Yeah.
Continue, sorry.
No. And I appreciate that. And you will have so much context for that, everything in that piece when you watch the film. Because like I would say it's a 1-to-1 ratio of how you feel with the actual visuals of that scene. So the song Photograph, shut up phone. Timers, trying so hard to stay on time. It's depicting loneliness, and that's something you will learn about the movie as well. The main character is experiencing that emotion, and it's a desperation to find the person you're supposed to be with, and that's what I'm getting. It's heavy. For me, I'm seeing like that. There's this chord. It starts off very simple, and what I wanted to talk about with this one was not actually anything to do with the notes, but think about it from the angle of the space between the notes.
The pauses.
The notes are lonely. Like the spacing between.
They're kind of by themselves.
Yeah. So like, and that's what I'm seeing with my stupid synesthesia brain. I'm seeing like a blip of light and then a black.
Wow.
And then the next note. So you have that long pause. And that's something like doing solo music. It's not really even it's like dramatic pauses are so powerful. And that's the same thing with poetry as well. You know, talking about lyrics as well. There you go. I just did a dramatic pause. But so like you feel the music and you feel lonely because of how the notes are portrayed.
It's like an empathetic sort of song.
Yeah,
you know where that song is at.
It has some hope to it, but it's also sad. And like, near the end it builds into this like ridiculous arpeggiated chord that I don't know how that she's doing. Like, so basically, I believe it's Arcade Fire.
Yeah.
Is the I guess composer of the song, and they did the entire soundtrack for her. So it's all like synthesized, like beautiful piano work. So this song is like one of the most interesting depictions of like space and isolation I've ever heard. And in a way, it's both incredibly sad but also incredibly beautiful. And it's like thinking about something in the future. It's like possibility to me. So those are my three, and I'm excited for her.
Oh yeah,
because
I cannot.
I'm so ready for that.
Just in what you were saying, like every time I've listened to this piece, I could understand that it was depicting like, and you could feel this loneliness from it, but I didn't connect like why. And the whole leaving the notes alone is like exactly what the piece does. And it's so powerful by doing that. I can't remember if it was Beethoven or Mozart or it was another famous classical musician that used to say the most powerful piece in music that you have at your disposal is pauses, rests,
silence.
That's
so true.
This kind of ties into what, the difference between you guys is like you're focused on lyrics while you're focused on the instruments. And this song I feel like that you've picked is kind of like I feel like you could replace those notes with words. In my opinion.
Yes.
Like
absolutely right.
That's how I feel when I listen to that song. Like in my head, I pictured literally just someone standing on a beach looking out. That's the image I have when I listen to that song.
That's literally what the shot in the film is.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh well, there you go. I haven't seen the film, so I have no idea. But I guess
hilarious.
Going on to me then.
Yeah, and I think that is a perfect segue because it's like, okay, what if you don't have any pauses?
Well,
but you do have pauses.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. See, I'm kind of the middle ground of you guys, actually, where like I focus more on the rhythm, and this includes vocals, this includes instrumentation, it includes the percussion beats, the rhythms, any sort of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for my first song, it's kind of a selfish pick. It's more of a nostalgic pick, really, because my first song is "I On It" by Toby Mac, and that's just it's something I learned as a kid. This song was pretty much a challenge. It was something that I heard. I remember my family telling me about it because this is when I first started drums. It's when I first started getting into it. I did one drum cover before this, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and that I'd get YouTube famous. But we're not there. But anyways, so I remember it's either my mom or dad, but they got the CD. They got a new CD, and I sat in there and listened to it. And they played this song, and I hear this big opening. It's all a bunch of synthetic. It's all a bunch of just. It sounds like a synth song, but there's drums in there. It's mixed in there with the synthetic, but
there's a lot going on with it.
Exactly. It sounds a little bit messy, but like if you really pay attention to it, you can pick it out. And I remember listening to the song. And it was either one of my parents. They're like, I challenge you to do this song. I want you to learn it. And I sat there listening to it the first time. I'm like, this is insane. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. Like, I had no idea because I couldn't differentiate the two. But I listened to it. I studied it. I tried my best with what I could do. And doing that, it taught me a couple of things. It taught me how to not necessarily listen and copy, but to listen and understand, to listen and flow with what they have. What rhythm are they making? I don't have to copy it exactly, but I can flow with what they're giving me. So that's something that I learned with that. And another thing I learned is that it was very difficult. Well, it took me a while, but once I figured out what's the difference between the synth and the drums itself, I decided that I think I was ready to do a drum cover for it. So I did it, and of the 4 that I have on my YouTube, that's the one that's most viewed. It was very inspiring to me because it kind of taught me a whole new level of learning with my instrument. And as far as other music that goes with that, it taught me just like how to read between the rhythms, how to differentiate what goes with what, and what complements each other.
Wow.
So along with the synthetics, like looping or anything like that, it kind of meshes well. And I think the song just does a really good job of pinpointing singularly what is this instrument and how do they work together.
There's a lot. There's so many different layers of instruments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that must have been really challenging because there's so many different aspects of the song that are acoustically, like each one is its own idea and thing, and then trying to put drums into that. Like how do you not tread on those things,
right?
But how do you accentuate the beat through that?
Exactly. So. That's exactly the point I'm making with this first song. It's not even my favorite song anymore, but it's just something that I always kept looking back at and seeing where I progressed from today.
Trial by fire.
Exactly. Exactly. But as far as that song goes, that's really it. But for my next song, I think I'm gonna move on to a song called "Run Wild" by For King and Country. This is kind of a similar genre as not as upbeat as it, but For King and Country, they're mainly percussion based, so it's right up my alley. Right. So I love that aspect. They bring like marching band stuff to concerts and all this sort of stuff. It's really legit watching them.
Do they both do the drums?
Oh yeah. Like the brothers Joel and Luke Smallbone. Yeah. Luke does mainly like literally like Civil War style snare drum.
Oh wow!
He brings that on stage, and then Joel just goes around everywhere doing like bells to bass drums, literally everything. It's really cool to watch. I love watching them in concert. I think they're one of my favorites to watch in concert. But as far as Run Wild goes, it's really cool because they feature another artist in there called Andy Mineo. And he's a rap artist, and he's actually, it's very interesting with him. Like, I'm not a huge rap fan. It's all just, I guess it's like poetry in motion in that sort of way, which I'm not the most poetic person. I'm sorry, Joe.
I'm not a poetic bone in my body.
It's me. I'm the only one.
Right, but with this song, the main thing I wanted to focus on with this song is like how in Ionic, like it's music itself, instruments compiled together to work together. But in this case, it's lyrics and the rhythm of the song that are working together with it. And with the segue that they have their first verse, Joel and Luke sing the song, and they sing through the first bit, and it's the simple, bass and kick and just all this sort of stuff that goes with it. They get to the pre-chorus and the chorus. It starts building up a little bit, and it starts just decreases right down to that first simple rhythm with Andy Mineo singing his rap. Yeah. And just how that flows, it's not a typical rap. It's not his typical style.
Right.
And
what does that mean?
Huh?
What does it mean? Like, what is his typical style?
His typical style, he likes to spit rhymes. Like he's pretty quick with his rhymes.
Okay. Andy Mineo is super fast.
He's super fast, and so. With this song, it's very spaced out. It's very like, here's my 1 point, and then it just goes quick to another one, and then he gets 4 words in there just a second, where you're like, oh wow, that's really cool. And just the whole rhythm of that, it's like dancing with the song.
Wow.
And that's the picture I get with it. It's cool. Like how he uses these words to go with the rhythm. And even in the end, he sings along with them in the next chorus, and it's just like, it complements each other.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought of the connection between words and rhythm.
Oh yeah,
because I never think about that.
It's funny because
it's so cool.
Just the other day, I was showing Joel the song "Home," and I was like, it's very simple, very simplistic." Right. Like he was saying, "Oh, I like this because the rhythm of the words is really good. It has an offbeat pattern to it."
Oh yeah.
And so there's this relationship that the rhythm and the words have that can play together, or can, like, if it's not done well, can work against each other.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at a cappella groups, I mean, if you just look at that, they have such huge rhythm when it comes to it. I think even sometimes it's greater than with instruments. It might,
you don't have something to help you. You have to do it entirely yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And so when I hear good vocal rhythm as well, I think See, like, I'm along with, like, you when it goes to good lyrics in that way. In that sense, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
In the way that if it does not flow well, then I'm going to tune out and listen to the instruments instead. So, like I said, they both have to complement each other in that way, which is really funny because we took this whole first, second, third thing, and we're kind of just in the middle ground here. But moving on to my last song, and this one is very, very inspirational on a different kind of level. It's There Will Be Time by Mumford & Sons and Baba Mal.
So good.
This album is...
I think it's his best song.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely one of my favorites. It's right up... It's tied up first with probably Dust Bowl Dance or anything like that. It's just so great because this album that they made, it's an EP actually. It's called Johannesburg. And they did 5 songs with different groups of Africa, of South Africa, if I can be specific. There's Baba Mal, there was Beatenberg, and The Very Best, I believe is what they were called. But this song specifically was with Baba Mal. And I, first of all, love it because it's very simplistic in the beginning. Very simplistic. And the Baba Mal sings like the first 2 verses, but it's in, I believe, Zulu. The language Zulu.
Wow.
And if I could actually read those lyrics, you'll understand, like, look, I'm going on your lyric basis here, but like, just how he says it in their language flows so well into the music that they're playing. Like, if you translated it into English and, you know, played the same rhythm, it would not work. It would not work at all. So that's kind of the point I'm making with this. So if I could just say the lyrics here, it's really touching, really. It's There Will Be Time. That's the name of the song. So the first verse goes, listen to me, I want to tell you something. The reason I love you is because you are the only one who has taught me how to love and appreciate life. And then goes into the chorus, and the next verse goes into to feel hurt and to feel joy, feelings that come from loving you. Situations can change between the morning and the night, but our love for each other stays the same. It stays strong, it is constant, and it remains true. And it's going through the choruses that Mumford & Sons sings. It's just like, it's funny because actually when we announced when you guys told me we were doing this podcast and you wanted me on board, I was looking up these songs and I was like, you know, I never actually looked up the lyrics, like what they translated to in this. And it's just so great because I love the song because mainly the percussion, because it's mainly African drums and amazing percussion, which, anyways, it's amazing. But really, I looked into it, and I was just like, wow, this just gives so much meaning for not only the rhythm, but just, like, the emotion that the song gives you. Because there will be time. It's like this love song, basically. And that's just something I really did appreciate. But aside from the 2 different languages complementing each other, is, like I said, the simple drums in the very beginning. And as the choruses go and as the verses go, I think it's at the end of the second chorus, they just have this pause where he just like he ends the chorus with this line with no music, and then all of a sudden you just start hearing the simple build. This build that just keeps getting louder and louder and louder, and then more instruments get in there, and it's just feels like you're in a different country. Yeah. It's amazing. And as they do that, the vocals then complement those drums. It flows so well together, and it just makes it seem like you're there. Yeah. You're there watching some cool like ceremony or anything like that, and it's just. It goes so well with that. I remember actually I practiced with this song. I played my own set of drums. Obviously, it's not the same because it's African drums versus a drum set. Right, yeah. But as I did that, it's just it gave me a whole lot more appreciation for different instruments. Not like a drum set altogether, but different little parts all together, like different people all together working on the song, and it was very inspiring to me.
Yeah. It's crazy how a song can give you that sort of appreciation for like almost a community of musicians and like the complexity of music and how so many different pieces, even very, very small pieces, can work together to build this huge, incredible piece that just makes you feel something. It's
cross-cultural. It's like you have this emotion above like in anywhere really.
Yeah.
It's just when I listen to this song, it not only like is hopeful. Like it gives you that sort of hope as it builds up, but it also is like kind of powerful feeling because once it gets to the end, you're just like, whew, like an adrenaline rush just happened. It's just like
I agree.
I feel like you can really do anything when you listen to that. It's a very inspiring song.
Just go ahead.
I absolutely love the fact that Mumford and Sons did like a collaboration with another language and like culture.
You don't hear that very often.
I
from
know
people.
it's pretty rare.
Because they're a bunch of white boys.
British white boys.
But
They're great,
it's
though.
so good. Like it's so cool, and I love that aspect and the way the languages flow together, and the way they use the
Zulu. I believe it's Zulu.
I think so.
I mean, you just went to Kenya, so.
Well, it's not Kenya. It's a different.
No, I'm saying like you know more about Africa than we do.
But the way they use the rhythm of those words and their language to complement the English ones and to complement the rhythm that English just wouldn't have done properly. Yeah, is so amazing.
See, I can't imagine. See, the thing with me is like I can't imagine doing the same thing for more than like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm like playing like constantly for like an entire song is completely like overwhelming to me because I never do that. Like I'm so selective.
Yeah.
And that's why it's interesting.
It's like you take your moment.
Yeah, it's like a moment, and like the moment comes and the moment passes, and it's the same thing with singing and lyricism as well.
So you're saying there will be time.
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's just you don't. It's like a completely different mindset, and I think that's why this like psychology of musicians and the way you play and perform and sing and act and write is so important. I think it'd be interesting if we all wrote something and just compared it. You know, how do you approach writing from each of our perspectives? And that's one thing like a band has to have. Each part has to do its job. And it it's like a well-oiled machine in that regard. And is there anything else you want to say about it?
No, I think that's basically it for me.
Wow.
Aside from just like, I think it's just very interesting how we have these different views on music itself, but really it all comes together to form something beautiful.
Right, yeah.
Yep. And you can't do it without all of them. As much as I'm like, hey kid, go buy the guitar, okay? Don't buy a mic, a vocal mic. But no, you really like if all three of these aren't doing their part, then you're missing something. And I'm happy to be able to talk to you guys about this because like musicians have this weird thing where you look for that. You're looking for that like piece that you're missing with music, so you can collaborate. So and that's something that I continue want to do with you guys too. So yeah, well that was good.
Yeah,
it's good conversation about that. Any closing thoughts?
Just that I really do appreciate you guys letting me be on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a very fun topic for not only for researching, but just to be able to talk to you guys with, because it's sometimes rare for me to have these actual in-depth, not necessarily like logical conversations, but just like how we actually feel on a serious topic.
Yeah.
That's something I usually don't get as much, and I don't really think about it. I'm kind of happy-go-lucky in that way, which I'm sure you both know for living with me. But having these deep conversations, it really makes you think and see these other points that you guys are making as well. So I think
and I'm sure we'll have you on again. I mean, you're our resident Nintendo expert.
Oh yeah, you got it.
So
got King Mario. I'm the host, right?
You can help us understand Nintendo better and their mindset, and like I think that's especially like where they're going as well. I think it's really interesting. So not to change gears exactly, but pretty much to change gears. Next week we're going to be talking about Her, which is a movie about a lot of things.
It sure is.
A lot of it, I would say, the biggest concept for me, and I'm the only one that's seen the film.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Is how do you negotiate your wants and needs in relationships, and how do you not get crushed under loneliness?
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful film of desperation to me, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Because I don't want to say any more about the character or anything else.
I feel like the movie's really underrated. Like I heard about it when it first came out, and I was like, I want to see this so bad, and then just disappeared. Like I never heard about it since until now. And so now Alex is like, oh, I love this movie, Her, and I was like, I've been wanting to see that forever.
I'm so glad because I've talked to a lot of people, and they're like, that sounds really weird. You're dating an AI.
I'm so fascinated by that.
And I'm like,
see,
no, you don't get the point of anything. Like, you have to watch the film to understand what's going. It's not like it's so relevant to life.
Yeah.
And it's more than just, oh, you're dating a robot. It's not. It's about the symbolism of what that means in our culture when we're so ingrained in technology.
Yeah.
See, I was kind of part of that same group that thought that weird thing. That's why I was like, I don't know.
Every time we bring it up with Joel,
it's not.
I'm just like, it's like cringy for me. But like having this actually discussion, like talking about the song, I'm just like, wow, it sounds like there is a lot of symbolism even with the music itself. Yeah. And so I find that interesting. You guys can watch it. I don't know if I'll be in the area to watch it with you, but if so, I'll be there.
Sweet. Yes. So, I'm excited for that. We'll kind of break that down. I mean, it's gonna be hard to not spoil it.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna spoil it.
Let's be honest.
It's gonna be like the book review kind of.
Yeah. What about?
But less controversial.
Yeah. Right. You're right.
So. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the Hipocritics podcast, and thank you, Joel, for being on today as our host.
Yes.
Oh, yes, you are very welcome.
Yeah, we have 2 co-hosts and an actual host that appears as a guest host.
But I'm the actual host.
But you're actually the host.
And he changes people every now and again.
Yeah, he transforms into other people.
Yeah, we'll see who I become next time.
Yeah.
So, I've been Alex.
I've been Josiah.
And I've been Joel.
And you've been listening to the Hipocritics podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye! That was the most non-musical outro.
Wait. We should do arpeggiated.
Yeah, you're right.
Go.
Bye.
Bye. Still bad.